Oh, hey guys, welcome back. Fancy seeing you here, but nice to see you here regardless. Alright, look, today I'm back on Battlebit. For some reason, you guys actually quite enjoyed the last video, so I thought, you know, because I enjoyed this game as well, and I enjoy talking about it, we'll be here once again, featuring this in a new video. This video is not going to be like a review, such as the last one, but rather more looking into the future, looking into the possibilities where this game can go next. Because look, this game is fantastic. This game does shit on Battlefield. This game does make me horny, right? But it isn't perfect, of course it's not. It's perfect for 4 developers by far, absolutely no shred of doubt there. But this game is still technically in early access. The developers came out recently and said, look, we've got plans for this game in the future. We're gonna unveil this, we're gonna get you all tense and, you know, like you want to explode, and then we're gonna drop this bombshell straight on your face. Anyways, enough ramblings, let's begin. Oh, but if you enjoy this kind of content, please don't forget to subscribe, and also if you want, check out my Discord server. Nothing special, you can give it a go. So alright, number 1, audio. Right, so this is something which I mentioned about in the previous video. I would say overall Battlebit Remastered has very polished gameplay. Okay, we're talking animations, we're talking balancing, we're talking maps. Everything feels very high quality. Audio, however, is the only department in this game which I would say needs work, and not just a little bit of work. I'm talking like an actual rework of sorts. Remember how DICE spent 2 years reworking their maps in 2042 because they were that goddamn dog shit? I feel like the Battlebit devs need to do a similar thing with audio, not because their game is arse, but because their foundation is there, but it just hasn't been fully realized. Don't get me wrong, you know, this game has audio, it has bullet sound effects and some footsteps and some vehicle noises, but overall, as I said in the previous video, the mixing is way off. So everything is incredibly quiet if there are sound effects, and in some places there's just no audio. I would have thought that at the beginning of a match you would kind of hear, I don't know, like a bit of battle talk, maybe like engines revving, even just like planes flying overhead, gunfire in the distance, just basic ambience. But unfortunately at this point in time there is nothing. There's nothing going on unless there's an actual real life player making those noises. And like I said, even if this does happen with a real life player, more often than not it's too quiet, it sounds poor quality, it clips in and out awkwardly. A good example I can give of this, well, 2 actually. First of all, footsteps. Footsteps for a first person shooter, particularly one which is, you know, petering on the hardcore sort of side, absolutely needs to give you situational awareness. It needs to provide you with the ability to know what's going on and to predict where the enemy are coming from. And one of the most common ways of doing this is obviously through footsteps. Battlebit Remastered does have footsteps, but unfortunately the enemy's foot needs to be in your throat for you to actually be able to hear them. I'm sure this is just a little quirk in early access that can be ironed out. It's not like they got to spend 2 years redeveloping it from scratch. And the second example, very similar, is vehicles. What I'm trying to say is that all the vehicles sound like arse. I don't think I've heard a single vehicle which sounds like how it's supposed to. Like a tank sounds like a golf buggy, or like one of those little peds that Uber Eats drivers fly around on. They don't sound powerful, they don't sound bassy enough, nor even realistic in the slightest. So yeah, audio, I would say number 1 priority. Alright, number 2, this game obviously, because of its visuals, does have a bit of a hard time displaying where structures begin and end. I think particularly with interiors this is a big problem, and by this I mean that certain interiors are quite literally shapes with colours, because there's no props, there's no decals, there's no anything. Alright, so if you have a room, you basically have a cream square with maybe a window and a door frame, and that's it. So if you have multiple rooms next to each other all looking extremely identical, it's very hard to work out where the fuck you are for a start, but then also where rooms begin and end, perhaps where doorways are. It all just blends into this big beige mess. It looks like British tapas. Again, this is something so simple to fix, I can imagine. I don't know, I'm not a game developer. Anything to differentiate these areas from each other. Alright, number 3. Now, this is potentially a little bit of an ask, so, you know, I don't want to pressure them like we pressure dice, alright? You got to be careful. Developers' feelings are fragile, okay? And their ego is more important than your wallet, so just remember that, guys. Terrain destruction. When I heard that Battlebit was a near fully destructible game in terms of, you know, its maps, I assumed that this extended to the ground, right? One of my very autistic interests playing Battlefield is craters. I love the craters. I don't know why. The best way I can put it is that if you have a little tiff up with someone and you get decked, but in the process you threw down some C4 in an attempt to kill them, you come out of this encounter having been killed and your ego is bruised, but then you look over and you see that that little dash of C4 left a nice big hole in the map which stays there the entire game. It feels like this encounter didn't just end when you got killed. There's a little scar of it left behind, almost like the map is surrounded by the past. I know that sounds hyper autistic, and apologies, but that's how it works in my brain. If Battlebit Remastered could do something similar, and not just to tickle that little autistic scratch in my brain, but also to provide a little bit of gameplay, it would create cover on the fly, just having a little dip into the map where you could sit, particularly in maps which are a lot more open. And look, if they can knock down buildings and create mass levolution events, I'm sure that making a tiny dent in the ground isn't too much of an ask, but look, again, I'm not a game dev, so I'm sorry. Alright, number 4, cosmetics. Oh god, the C word. Okay, we're gonna need a little drink of water for this. Joking, it's vodka, because you know it's Thursday, it's a new Friday. So I think Battlebit Remastered alongside Deep Rock Galactic is probably the only game where I wish the developers would give me more cosmetics, give me more pointless things to unlock, give me more ways to make myself look like a badass and feel like a badass. There are cosmetics in Battlebit Remastered, but a lot of them are different bits of armor, different belts, different helmets, and all of them serve a gameplay purpose, which is great, not complaining about that whatsoever, but also I want some kind of little bits of character, even something like a pack of smokes tucked into my sleeve, or bullets around my helmet, something which doesn't actually have any effect on how I play or how I'm being played against, but rather just makes me look incredibly fucking cool. One of the fondest memories I ever have of playing Call of Duty 4, so the original Modern Warfare. This was the first multiplayer game which I truly got into, and I remember thinking in my young mind that the higher rank you got in this game, the more people would look up to you and almost follow you around. Like, for example, when I would join a game and see like a level 50, I'd be like, damn, this guy's a fucking beast, I'm gonna follow him, I trust him. As I grew older, unfortunately, I realised that this isn't the case, but you know, that part of my mind is not dormant, it still exists. And something like that in Battlebit Remastered I feel like would make sense, particularly because this game is quite hard and hard to master. So if you're an absolute beast at this game, I feel like you should look like a beast. You know, like in Hell Let Loose, the higher ranks you go, the more disgusting and fucked up your character models become. Yeah, I'm talking something like that. You know, faces, outfits, even weapon charms if you want to do that. I don't give a fuck. I'll give them my money because I respect them. And finally, number 5. I would very much like to see more structures to be able to build. This includes big and small objects, things like bunkers, trenches, vehicle spikes, which, you know, can stop vehicles in their tracks. Let support as a class become support in Hell Let Loose. Give them all of these crazy opportunities to build things which regular classes cannot do. I believe the devs actually did come out and say that they are working on more structures, particularly ones that are support specific. Cheers, you know, I appreciate that. Doesn't mean that I'm going to sleep any better at night until I see that I can build a big fuck off concrete bunker. I want to build up an objective. I want to build a small hotel on an objective and charge insane amounts of money. And you know, on a more serious note, it just gives you more variety. It gives you more depth to gameplay, and it gives you something to do to defend objectives. Otherwise, people don't defend objectives in multiplayer games because they're not getting kills. They want action, they want meat, they want gravy, they don't want to sit around and twiddle their thumbs. Alright guys, and that just about sums it up. Battlebit developers, if you're listening, cheers for all the work you're putting in. Cheers guys, catch you lot in a bit.